The ongoing saga between Melody, Martell and Arian has officially escalated to a new and serious phase. This is no longer just online drama, interviews, or social media back and forth. Reports now suggest that lawyers are involved, and when legal paperwork enters the picture, it changes everything. A legal notice is not just another post or comment. It signals that someone believes a line has been crossed, not emotionally, but legally. Today, we're going to break down what this means, why it matters, and how this development shifts the entire dynamic of a story that has played out in public for years. To truly understand the significance of this legal step, it's important to revisit the history of this complex triangle. For years, the situation between Melody, Martell, and Arian unfolded publicly. What began as whispers of infidelity eventually turned into confirmed separation, divorce filings, and court matters that were closely followed by fans and the media. Social media platforms became a stage where interviews, Instagram lives, vague captions, and fan debates kept the story alive long after the marriage officially ended. The public consumed every post, every statement, and every interview, treating it like reality TV drama. However, while the online audience debated, shared opinions, and speculated about what was happening behind the scenes, real lives were being impacted in ways that social media commentary could never fully capture. The divorce itself marked a turning point for Melody, who appeared to focus on rebuilding her life step by step, putting her children and her business ventures first, while quietly moving forward with her personal growth. Unlike Martell and Arian, who continued to engage publicly, Melody refrained from online arguments or reactive posts. To many observers, this silence looked like a clean break. But silence, in situations like this, often carries a hidden depth. It can signal careful observation, strategic patience, and preparation for actions that go far beyond emotional responses. The situation officially escalated when reports indicated that legal paperwork had been delivered. Unlike posts on social media, a legal notice is a formal, concrete step that signals someone is prepared to take action if boundaries are crossed. While fans may have grown accustomed to the ongoing commentary between Melody, Martell, and Arian, the introduction of lawyers makes the conflict tangible, enforceable, and potentially consequential. The presence of a legal notice immediately changes the conversation. Where before fans might have dismissed posts or interviews as opinions or harmless drama, now each statement, each caption, and each interview carries potential legal weight. According to reports, the legal notice reportedly addresses serious concerns, including defamation, harassment, and interference. Defamation does not require direct accusations. Even indirect statements, if they harm reputation, can be grounds for legal action. Harassment isn't about a single comment, it's about repeated behavior that creates emotional distress or public pressure. And interference relates to actions that impact business, branding, or public image, which for public figures can have very real financial consequences. Once a legal notice is in play, the dynamics shift dramatically. Ignorance is no longer an option. Any continued behavior after that point can be interpreted as intentional, giving the legal system a very different lens through which to view the conflict. What sets Melody's move apart is the quiet, deliberate way it was executed. There was no dramatic announcement, no long emotional post, and no effort to rally supporters on social media. This isn't a reaction, it's a calculated step that signals control, boundaries, and self-protection. For years, Melody tolerated public commentary about her life, her marriage, and even her character as a mother without responding publicly. While some critics have suggested that legal action is a form of control or silencing, the question becomes, if nothing harmful was happening, why would such action be necessary? Supporters of Melody view this legal notice as long overdue, a clear step in protecting not only herself, but also her children and her business ventures. In legal conflicts, particularly involving public figures, silence combined with documentation is often the most effective strategy. By observing patterns of behavior, collecting evidence, and then acting strategically, someone can protect themselves without engaging in emotional battles that only fuel public spectacle. Melody's restraint is what makes this move so effective. The action itself, being quiet and intentional, speaks volumes. It is protective rather than aggressive, measured rather than emotional, and demonstrates a clear understanding of both legal boundaries and personal priorities. In contrast to the previous years of public back and forth, this step changes the game entirely. It is no longer about who can post the longest Instagram story or deliver the most pointed interview. It is about legality, boundaries, and consequences. While Melody remained publicly silent, commentary surrounding her life did not stop. Martell's interviews continued, often portraying himself as misunderstood or misrepresented, while Arian's posts gradually became sharper, filled with references to being silenced or finally speaking the truth. Initially, fans may have dismissed these as harmless expressions or dramatic flourishes, but over time, patterns became more apparent. The timing of posts and statements often aligned with Melody's personal or professional milestones, suggesting a repeated and intentional behavior. From a legal perspective, these patterns matter more than isolated incidents. Legal action is rarely based on a single statement or post. It builds on repeated behavior that shows intent, impact, and context. This strategic observation likely informed Melody's approach, allowing her to document interactions, record dates, and gather consistent references, all key elements when preparing a strong legal case. Reports indicate that the escalation occurred when online references began touching on sensitive topics, including Melody's role as a parent and indirect references involving children. When minors are even indirectly involved, legal boundaries become stricter and the risks of defamation, harassment, or interference increase substantially. For many observers, this appears to be the turning point. Whereas prior posts might have been shrugged off as online drama, these recent references crossed a line that made legal action necessary. Statements about a public figure's parenting, when combined with repeated commentary or insinuations, can have lasting reputational and emotional consequences. The reported legal notice is believed to target these areas specifically, signaling a clear line has been drawn. Once lawyers are involved, the rules change. Statements are no longer just words, they can become evidence. Social media posts, interviews, and captions that were previously dismissed as harmless may now be scrutinized closely. Every action carries risk. Continuing harmful behavior after a legal notice has been delivered can be interpreted as intentional defiance, potentially resulting in further legal escalation. The dynamic shifts entirely, and the freedom to speak openly about the past becomes constrained by real consequences. The legal notice has already had a noticeable effect on the online landscape. Accounts have become less active, language has become more guarded, and posts are shorter or have stopped altogether. This is typical whenever legal advice enters a situation. Lawyers generally advise restraint rather than emotional reactions, and the change in behavior reflects the seriousness of the legal step. What was once loud and chaotic, filled with opinions, speculation, and public arguments, has quieted down, signaling that the stakes are now real and that future actions will be closely monitored for potential consequences. For viewers, this is a turning point. What may have felt like reality TV drama now carries real-world implications. The stakes are higher, the tone is different, and the public is paying closer attention, not for entertainment, but to understand what comes next. Melody's strategy, her patience, and her restraint have shifted the narrative from reactionary drama to deliberate action, setting a precedent for how similar conflicts may play out in the digital age. However, to fully grasp the significance of this legal step, it's important to revisit the history of the triangle involving Melody, Martell, and Arian. For years, this story played out publicly, capturing attention as a mix of personal conflict, rumors, and social media commentary. What began as whispers of infidelity slowly escalated into confirmed separation, divorce filings, and court matters. Public engagement was constant, fueled by Instagram lives, vague captions, interviews, and fan debates. The audience consumed every post, every statement, and every caption as if they were watching a reality show unfold in real time. Yet, while viewers speculated and debated, real lives were being deeply affected behind the scenes. After the divorce was finalized, Melody shifted her focus entirely, dedicating herself to rebuilding her life step by step. Her priorities became clear: her children, her businesses, and her personal growth. Publicly, she refrained from engaging in arguments, responding to every rumor, or participating in online conflicts. To casual observers, it seemed she had completely moved on. However, silence does not always indicate inaction. Often, it signals careful observation and strategic planning, a deliberate approach that sets the stage for measured action at the right moment. While Melody remained publicly silent, the commentary surrounding her life continued. Martell persisted with interviews, often framing himself as misunderstood or misrepresented, while Arian's posts became sharper, filled with references to being silenced or finally speaking the truth. At first, fans dismissed these statements as harmless or dramatic expressions, but over time, patterns emerged. Observers noticed that posts often coincided with Melody reaching personal or professional milestones. Subtle digs, repeated mentions, and carefully worded statements formed a consistent pattern. Individually, each instance might have seemed inconsequential, but together they demonstrated a repeated behavior that matters legally. In fact, from a legal standpoint, patterns are more significant than isolated incidents. Legal notices are rarely sent in response to a single post or comment. Instead, they are often built upon repeated actions that show intent and impact. Melody's public silence, therefore, may have been strategic, allowing her time to observe, document, and gather evidence. Screenshots, dates, consistent references, all these details form the backbone of a strong legal case and highlight the methodical nature of her approach. The situation reportedly escalated when online references began touching on sensitive topics, including Melody's role as a parent, her character as a mother, and indirect references involving her children. When minors are even indirectly mentioned, the legal boundaries become far stricter, and the consequences of defamation or harassment are taken more seriously. For many observers, this was the turning point in the conflict. The legal notice is believed to address concerns such as defamation, harassment, and interference. Defamation does not require direct accusations. Even indirect statements can qualify if they harm reputation. Harassment is defined not by a single comment, but by repeated actions that create pressure, distress, or emotional harm. Interference refers to behavior that affects business, branding, or public image, which can carry serious financial consequences for public figures. Once a legal notice is delivered, the entire dynamic changes immediately. Ignorance is no longer an option, and continued behavior can now be interpreted as intentional defiance, which shifts the balance of power completely. What makes Melody's move so remarkable is the quiet and deliberate way it was executed. She did not post a dramatic statement. She did not try to win public opinion with emotional posts. Instead, the action itself conveys protection rather than aggression. The goal was not to embarrass anyone, but to draw a clear line, establish boundaries, and safeguard her family and her professional interests. Many supporters see this move as long overdue. After years of enduring commentary and speculation without responding publicly, this action represents self-respect, growth, and strategic foresight. From the perspective of a mother and businesswoman, it is a clear message that certain behavior will no longer be tolerated. Critics, particularly supporters of Martell and Arian, may interpret this action as controlling or silencing, but the question remains: if no harmful behavior was occurring, why would legal action be necessary? This question alone shifts the perspective, highlighting that the issue at hand is not about control, but about protection and accountability. Once lawyers are involved, the conversation changes fundamentally. Statements are no longer just opinions, they can be used as evidence. Posts, interviews, and captions that were once dismissed as inconsequential now carry weight and may be revisited in a legal context. The legal notice forces decisions. Will the behavior stop and boundaries be respected, or will it continue, potentially escalating the situation and resulting in stronger legal action? Observers have already noticed a shift in online behavior following the legal notice. Posts have become vague, Instagram Lives have shortened or stopped entirely, and language is more cautious and measured. This is typical when legal advice enters the picture. Lawyers rarely advise emotional reactions, they advise restraint. The atmosphere online has changed. What was once chaotic and loud has gone quiet. Accounts are less active and words are chosen more carefully. This is exactly the effect a legal notice is intended to produce. It changes behavior without public confrontation, and it establishes a framework of accountability. This situation extends beyond Melody's past, or Martel and Arian's commentary. It sends a broader message about boundaries and self-protection. Setting boundaries does not require public fights, and protecting your peace does not require explanations. Sometimes the strongest response is quiet action, supported by preparation and documentation. For Melody, this move is about more than the past, it is about the future. Protecting her children, her reputation, and her work are now the priority. It signals that repeated behavior that negatively affects her life will no longer be tolerated. For Martel and Arian, the rules have changed. The spotlight is no longer confined to social media. It has extended into the legal realm. Every post, interview, or caption carries potential consequences. This is no longer about who gets the last word online. It is about accountability, strategy, and understanding that real-life consequences exist beyond likes, comments, and shares. As time progresses, every move by Martel and Arian will be scrutinized. Every post, interview, or caption has the potential to carry legal consequences. Social media freedom becomes limited when legal risk is introduced. This is the reality of combining personal conflicts with public platforms. For Melody, this step represents protection, self-respect, and the establishment of clear boundaries. For Martel and Arian, it represents the necessity of caution, careful wording, and strategic restraint. The introduction of legal consequences shifts the entire dynamic, from an emotional battle fought online to a conflict governed by laws, evidence, and consequences. This is more than just a story about past drama. It's about how public figures navigate accountability, legal boundaries, and personal protection in the age of social media. The quiet, strategic nature of Melody's move demonstrates that sometimes the strongest action is not the loudest one, but the one executed with careful planning, documentation, and clarity of purpose. Melody's restraint, strategy, and deliberate approach have shifted the story from online speculation to real-world consequences. Her quiet move has drawn a clear line, protected her family, and safeguarded her brand. The situation reminds us that behind social media drama are real people whose lives, reputations, and livelihoods are at stake. For viewers, this moment is a turning point, an opportunity to observe the real impact of online commentary, patterns of behavior, and legal accountability. The online atmosphere has changed, and the rules are different now. Statements are no longer just opinions, they can be evidence. The freedom to speak openly is constrained by responsibility and consequence, and as the story continues to unfold, every post, every statement, and every interview will be watched carefully. What once felt like entertainment now feels real, and the implications are significant for everyone involved.